Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Psychology of Lockdown. This is the 12th episode of Psychology of Lockdown. I'm really happy to welcome George back to the land of the living. He had a shellfish allergy last week that put him down for quite a number of days. So I'm glad you're feeling a lot better, George, and it's great to see you happy and healthy today.
Let me tell you, the shellfish saga, that was not good.
Yeah.
I guess we can, I learned that we can develop these allergies suddenly, and you don't know that you got this issue until your lips start swelling and your hands start puffing up and you feel short on breath, as I did, as was the case.
Yeah.
So I went to the hospital and I said, "No, I don't have the Rona."
Right.
No, Rona, shellfish. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you
Appreciate
bet.
that.
You bet. You're looking good today. So good
Thanks,
to have you
buddy.
back.
So are you. Thanks for having me back.
And so today we're talking about otheration and codependency, and we're going to get into these three ego states, which you've been telling me really help the average person to kind of nail down different personality types and what might actually be going on behind the scenes in that subconscious mind that throws people off, that turns people into the mystified personality.
Exactly. Well, you see, obviously, we all love behind the scenes. People who like to watch content. I personally love seeing what's going on behind the scenes, how things come together,
Mm-hmm.
how they work. That what we're seeing on the stage of life, the psychological stage of life, or the stage in general of life, how did that come to be? And similarly, how did this person come to be? How what shaped this individual, right? And people are left guessing many times in their relationships. They're not sure who the best hiree is, or who the best contractor could be, or who the best relationship could be, or is she a good teacher for my daughter or my son? These are all things that people generally struggle with, and in many cases they're left guessing.
Mm-hmm.
And they're left guessing because human beings, as we were saying off camera there, that we have a developmental process that we go through. Nobody escapes this process. But what everybody does deal with is the incompletion of the process. Since no parenting person is perfect and nobody can do this job perfectly, it's too difficult. People have needs that do not get met at the developmental stages of life.
Mm-hmm.
So when you come into this world as an infant, that's your first stage, 9 to 18 months. You move on to the 36 months with toddler, then preschool, then school age. So this staircase of infancy, toddler, preschool, and school age. And that's not the only developmental model. I'm using the 4-stroke from Bradshaw because it's short and sweet, but it encompasses all the same contextual ideology, the same developmental explanation about how human beings grow and develop.
Mm-hmm.
So, because the child is needy by nature, not by choice, you see, an adult child is needy because he or she didn't get their developmental dependency needs met. But an infant or a baby or a child is needy by nature. They haven't gone through the process. The adult has. The adult is the finished product. And from the adult, we extrapolate an inventory. When I know what the needs at infancy, toddler, preschool, and school age are, I could get indexes of suspicion to answer the question, did my wounded infant, did my wounded toddler get wounded? See, unmet needs are wounds.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So when a person doesn't fully develop, they develop what's called codependency. Codependency is a disease of the developing self. Remember, a child needy by nature, an adult is needy because he or she didn't get their developmental dependency needs met. So, what happens to a person when they don't get their needs met. They grow up to be an adult child. That is a person who is clearly an adult, but they have a little child running around inside them who didn't get their needs met. So once we know how to name these behaviors, the interpersonal issues that arise in relationships, once we know how to name those, we're able to determine at what age, what developmental level this person was arrested at, what we then call arrested development.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's heard that term.
What's the difference, say, between someone who had a arrested development at, depending on the phase, like the infancy versus if the arrested development happens at the toddler phase or the arrested development happens at the school age phase? Is it?
That's a very good question.
It's deeper at the infant level.
That's a very good question.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in order to answer it, we've got to know what the purpose of the developmental phases are. So let's go through that.
Okay.
Infancy, that's about trust. Naturally, every new experience in a person's life is infancy. New job, new apartment, new car, new coat. Can I trust my coat?
Right.
To make me look good, maybe?
Yeah.
Infancy is about trust. And Erik Erikson found that an infant's sense of trust must be greater by age 2, or it will pervade all subsequent relationships. Remember, trust is related closely to abandonment. When infants don't get their needs met, they experience that as abandonment. It registers as abandonment. So then they grow up to be an adult, forgetting what happened in infancy, 9 to 18 months. Most people don't remember that. You know how you find out is when you get in a relationship.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
Uh-oh. Isn't that interesting? Ever been in a relationship, folks, with somebody that had abandonment issues and they didn't trust you? Where are you going? Who are you talking to? What's up here? Come on.
Right.
That happens. Again, that's the infant, but people wouldn't know that because remember, you just asked that question, that $1 million question. What's the difference between what happens at toddler or infancy? So with infancy being about trust, remember, it pervades all subsequent relationships. If the infant's trust did not exceed a sense of mistrust greater and become a greater sense of mistrust by the age 2, it would not pervade or hurt or injure the relational development later in life. But this is infancy. Now, I hate to say this, but I'm gonna, because the divorcees may feel a little bit ashamed, but that's okay. Most of the marriages that end today are because of infancy issues.
Sure. Yeah.
Trust issues.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about infancy is a foundation. The house has a foundation. That framework must trust the foundation of the house. You see?
For sure.
You like the analogy.
Yeah.
If the framework doesn't trust the foundation, it's going to collapse. It will collapse.
Yeah.
So this is why it's so important to develop good, strong infancy needs, to have that mothering source that knows how to read the cues of that baby and know what he or she needs based on those cues and meet it. Because in so doing, you are building the currency of self-esteem. You are building the currency of the I am who I am. And you are a major contributor to who I become. So knowing the needs, the inventory of needs, being able to name them is a fascinating, insightful batch of information to have, to rely upon when you're parenting. And boy, does it ever make parenting so much easier when you understand what the needs are, excuse me, at each developmental level. Mm-hmm. So if you understand that infancy is about trust and it's a vital building block for everything else to rest upon, the framework of toddlerhood, preschool, and that of school age, once a person realizes the power of that framework and how it is resting upon the trust and self-assurance that leads to happiness, they are the very things we kill, I guess. Who wrote that? Don Henley? It is exactly that scenario. And when that is killed, everything collapses because the person cannot feel confident in the world without trust. We say without trust, there's no business. Without trust, there's no relationship. Without trust, there's no self-security. Without trust, there's no ability for one to stand up for oneself and question things. So trust is a vital ingredient. Now, when we move on to toddlerhood, you see, which is exploration, right? Kids get into everything. No, I won't. You start saying no like day does night. No, I won't. You can't make me. I'm not. You're confusing me with somebody who wants to hold your hand or go to bed. Okay, I'm busy. I got an agenda. You're in the way. You guys figured out your job. Figure out who's taking care of me, and I'll let you know if that works out good. Okay.
Right.
Other than that, I'm not going to bed. I don't want to hold your hand. And if I want to go potty at the grocery store and you don't want to reward me, screw you. I'll do it again.
Right.
Okay. So this kid is starting to develop a self. They're starting to separate. They're starting to say, I'm going to be me now. I'm going to be myself. In infancy, I was you, and when I moved my arms, I thought it was you, but no longer am I you. I'm going to be myself now. I'm going to start separating. I starting to understand that this world is at my beck, and I'm going to separate from you, but I want you to be near just in case I need you, just in case I can't do it. But I'm going to take all the risks I can because you gave me a really good infancy. I could trust myself to go down that slide, to ride that bike, to walk across the street and know that I'll be safe. Okay. So this is fascinating how a toddler begins to do this. There's no separation without trust and without that developmental polarity of trust being ingrained in that child, so that there's that solid foundation I spoke of a little while ago. Now the one thing I want to get into here is when I talked about the 3 ego states. Now, those are all part of and a result of the meeting of these needs. They completely relate. When you get into the exploration, so this toddler's now explored. Now they grow up into preschool where they start to say, I want to start working with other people. I want to start networking some of what I've learned. And then they move into school age, where they do now work in groups, and the networking is full on. You're playing with kids, you're sharing, you're learning caring, you're learning how to interact, you're learning interpersonal values, and these are happening in the moment. They're not like somebody is teaching them to you. They're happening just because human beings are social by nature, and children love to interact with other children. If their trust and exploration needs were met. See, we have run into problems with working with people in preschool. When the trust and the exploration needs aren't met, there are problems. There's interpersonal problems. Kids can become aggressive. It's an expression of I didn't get my needs met, or to become rebellious. That's an expression of you're not meeting my needs. And I'm going to take that problem to school and project it onto that psychological stage in the part of my life. So now we have these issues. So again, I'm trying to reaffirm and demonstrate for the listeners that in order to develop, these needs are important to have met. And what are some of the indicators if you don't get them met is very important to answer just as well. So having said that, when a person develops authenticity, you know that this person is predictable. You can read them. You know that to a good degree, you would be able to determine how they would respond in certain social situations. They are predictable because they're authentic. Authentic is repeatable. You do it all the time. When people are other-rated, or they're fragmented, or they didn't get their needs met, their developmental needs were not properly ingrained in them, installed. A lot of confusion. There's oddity in behavior. There's inconsistency in self-discipline and accountability and responsibility. These are abilities we talked about: sensibility, vulnerability, accountability, responsibility. When you remove one of those abilities, what do you get? Disability. See, these are deficits. And then we have deficits in reasoning. So authenticity is the goal of childhood development. You want to become your true, most and authentic self, where you have the power to live with your choices. You are soft, powerful, caring, and loving. You have good boundaries. You're a good listener. You care. you have a sense of what it means to be a human being,
Right.
and
A-
therefore you've developed the power.
So, otheration, then, how would you describe that? Is that like reflecting, instead of being your authentic, true self, setting solid boundaries around your own
Oh,
beliefs? Then,
okay.
otheration is leaning on other people and trying to impress
Okay,
others,
that
or
that's the
transforming
that's
yourself.
the contrast to what I just said,
Hmm.
right? Ortega, I took the Spanish existentialist Ortega said that or otheration, you know, is animal life is always be guarded. At least you're never unguarded, always having to hunt your food. Okay, whereas human life is characterized by within one's selfness.
Hmm.
Okay, that I am me. I do me. For that I came. I know who I am. When you're talking about otheration, you're talking about a person who didn't get their needs met. They don't really trust the world. They're on guard all the time. They're walking on eggshells. These are the people who are easily scared and afraid. These are the people who don't question anything because they do what they're told because they're afraid.
Right.
So, this is evidence again of what? Infancy issues. They don't know what to trust. Think about that. They're scanning the faces of other people. They don't know what to believe. They listen to opinions. They're easily swayed by the opinions of others because they don't know what to trust. They didn't get their needs met. Now, that's tragically sad. And it's vital for people, and folks, if you're listening to this and you can relate to this, it's vital for people to do the work of integration. You've got to go back and find out what needs did I not get met. And I mean, if you grow up to be an adult child and you're having all these problems in your life and you didn't get your needs met, you better know it. You better know it. Because if you decide to have kids, whatever is missing in you will be missing in them. This is multi-generational. This can be handed down for years, decades,
Right. For
where
sure.
families continue the same parenting model, the same developmental model, and they never change, critically question, or update any of the rule books, any of the styles of relating interpersonally, emotionally. So this is again so powerful in that when we talk about otheration, people that are otherated are afraid. They lack courage. They have self confidence, self esteem issues because they didn't get their developmental dependency needs met. That means that there was nobody in their childhoods for them to depend on to get those needs met. And there's many reasons for that. Dysfunctional marriages are the worst thing for children. A parent's unlived life, dyadic enmeshment is a very dangerous thing for children. When their parents are not getting their fundamental needs met through their healthy relationship, kids don't get to grow up in the nurturing arms of love. They see dysfunction. They
Hmm.
see intimacy dysfunction. Another way to define codependency is intimacy dysfunction. How
Sure.
can I give you me if I don't know who I are? If I have all this identity confusion? So, so there are three ego states, and I'll delve into this now, which are very relevant to this whole conversation around this developmental concern. People have three ego states, and when they grow up to be an adult, and so many people ask me, like, how do I know? Is this person on the level? Like, I'm not sure about him or her, or what have you. So here's some. I'm going to give you some tools. Maybe you can apply this to and see if it's helpful for you. So the first ego state that you have is childhood ego state. Okay. The second ego state that you have is your parental ego state, the one that trained your childhood ego state. And then you have the adult ego state, your current life, your present life, okay, which you are now. Now,
Hmm.
when we talk about chronological age, okay, a person can be 50, a person can be 45, but their developmental age differs. You can say the guy's 45, but he reads it like at an 8-year-old level. That's a developmental issue. Not always, by the way. There are other contributing factors, which I won't get into from a psychological standpoint. There are other reasons for deficits, It's not the only thing, but for the limits of this conversation, I'm going to stick to the developmental polarities because that's something that's more common.
Mhm.
So in this case here, what you're talking about, when you have the childhood ego state, that's your emotional life. Okay. That's how I feel about myself and the world and the people that I am in the world with. Then you have the parental ego state, and then you have the adult ego state. Now, let's invert those a little bit. The child ego state, how you feel. The adult ego state is your current life, the one you're living right now. And then the parental ego state is called the unexamined life. That is where all the problems are.
Right. Interesting.
Isn't that fascinating?
Mhm.
People generally don't get into a relationship and go, which parts of me am I repeating that I didn't like my parents repeating on me? Nobody knows to do that,
Right.
but now you do.
That's what's so fascinating about this entire conversation. I mean, this entire series is that so much of the subconscious conditioning is the driving force behind the choices that we make. And unless we can take that subconscious aspect of ourselves and make it conscious and then make choices based on our conscious mind, we're just going to be repeating these same patterns.
Every human being has a desire to know who the other person is that they're with or want to get to know. Everybody wants to know what's happening behind the scenes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so this is a look behind the scenes. And if you really want the behind the scenes, and I know some of it is not
Right.
very pleasing.
The shadow work.
I mean, yeah. I mean, not many people are interested in delving into this. They're not thrilled about it.
Yeah.
And I get why that is, because there's a lot of shame there. But let me tell you, the restoration is worth it, because the power that you get to reclaim when you've done this work, the shadow work, reclaiming the shadow side, that's where all the arrested power, the arrested development is.
Right.
There's no need to be ashamed. You're not the select elite among the dysfunctional race. You're not the select elite among the flawed and defective people, right? I mean, this is arrogant that people actually think that I'm the best of the worst.
Yeah, 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 right. And in fact, it's so common. It's so common that it shouldn't be, you shouldn't be seen as somehow uh defective compared to everybody else. It's like, actually, if you can make this leap and stop, the term avoidance came to mind because people want to avoid those feelings. But if you
Exactly.
confront that and you do this work, then you're actually one of the few that are on the healing path instead of just repeating these patterns,
It's a disease. If you're, you see, I'll say it again. Codependency is a dis-ease. Let's hyphenate that. Dis-ease of the developing self. When you don't get your needs met, your self doesn't develop. And we've got to get it that that's a form of spiritual bankruptcy as well. We've got to understand those currencies need to be restored. The values need to be restored. The human being must integrate. Remember, human beings seek completion.
Mm-hmm.
If you go outside and look at your tree, just ask yourself how many branches it grew. And the answer should be as many as it possibly could. And how many leaves? As many as it possibly could. Human beings have a mediocrity issue. We settle for less.
Yeah, for sure.
That's not acceptable, but that is also learned behavior. You're taught, hey, man, mediocrity, this is a good thing. Don't expect too much.
Right.
Right?
I mean,
But we tell people to become their fullest potential while stifling that very goal.
Just bringing it around into this entire, this concept of the patriarchal culture that we're raised in, a culture that doesn't ask people to seek the authentic self, but in fact shames them into this trauma bond with the hierarchical authorities. We've talked about it over and over again. We see it every day, especially during this time of COVID lockdown.
Well, they've used all of those behaviors on us within COVID. Everything we're talking about here from a mystification standpoint is definitely tactical. We discussed this with Dr. Mark McDonald. This is all tactical, what they're doing, hence psychological warfare. They're using mystification, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, repeating phrases over and over and over again so that it impacts our emotional brain. It impacts that childhood brain.
Right.
And that is tactical for sure, because
Getting
we are human.
getting this shadow self, this parental ego state to start making the choices for you instead of allowing you as an individuated person, a healthy person, to make choices for yourself. Yeah, it's pretty fascinating, and how effective it is. And then again, just going back to the fact that the vast majority are traumatized on this level. I mean, we've been living with this patriarchy for generation upon generation, and our parents have the trauma bond. And the idea of healing ourselves emotionally isn't even we don't go to school and learn this stuff that you're talking about. I mean, why not? We should be learning this from a
It's
very young age so we can start going.
they want to they want to, I've never geomet, but they want to teach us where Australia is in grade 4. I mean, I don't get it.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure if later in life we want to go to Australia, we can. It's on the planet. We'll
figure it
find
out.
it,
Yeah.
right? But let's teach the kids some other stuff. I mean, they spend a proportionate amount of time teaching kids what they don't need to know, to the exclusion of what they do need to know. And the value of family and relationship and development, human development. To me,
Hmm.
that's a bedrock issue. You've got, if the more you know about human development, the better of a human being you can be to yourself and to others, and the greater the contributions you can make.
Right.
I love that I am in a position to work with people at very deep degrees, uh, uh, really deep dives, to be like, even to work with you to do this kind of stuff.
Sure.
This is all deep stuff, and people are interested in it. It's just we don't see enough of it. It is not in schools. If you want to learn it, it's a specialty subject matter. You got to go to university. You've got to acquire the right knowledge, and then you've got to learn how to think critically, what to keep, what to leave out. And once you start to develop that sense of confidence, you start to feel your completeness in all of this. By the way, there is an end to all of this. You do become the master of your own destiny, if you like, but not for codependent, wounded little children who are
Hmm.
afraid. They're not going to embrace life on this level because they are still feeling externally controlled. That's the trust issue that we spoke of in infancy. So, how can you engender happiness? You cannot be authentic. When you don't have your needs fully met and installed, you cannot be fully authentic. So, the goal of authenticity is derived from completion. You've got to finish the business of childhood. If you don't, and if you don't embrace your demons, they'll be back to bite you in the ass. You've got to be willing to do the hard work necessary to integrate your history and make peace with it.
Hmm.
And to understand that all of those things that you deny yourself are denied power, is denied sustenance, thus denied life.
Yeah, pretty crazy. And the other thing that's coming to mind is that a healthy family sounds like what I would describe as a free society. The parents are giving the kids the needs that they require, but also allowing them the freedom to be able to express themselves in their own way, and paying attention and listening, and understanding what the child wants, and the child is participating in the family unit as an equal, rather than a hierarchy within the family where the children are shamed or traumatized into simply doing what they're told.
Absolutely. And again, characteristic of everything we've been experiencing with the lockdowns, how these people have manipulated, the governments have manipulated people into believing this stuff, that they can prey on that and exploit that lack of trust that adult infant has in them.
Right.
The person who's afraid to explore that wounded adult toddler, you know,
Yep.
this is all abuse. This is all abuse. People can call it what they want. In my opinion, it's all abuse, because you're exploiting the human being. You're taking advantage of their transparent weaknesses for your own gain to propel an agenda. You are using inhumane treatment toward people that is damaging to their families. It's damaging to their own development. It's damaging to what they get to do in their own worlds for their children and their families. And for anybody to stand idly by while that's going on, in my opinion, is severe delusion.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, we're looking at about 30 minutes. It always goes by so fast.
Listen, I got no more to say on this. We
Right, right
I
on.
mean, we don't want to inundate anybody, do we? I mean, okay, you want to know who your friends are, you want to know who your people are. Remember, childhood ego state, adult ego state, your current life, and your parental ego state. Examine that parental ego state. That is vital. If you want to reclaim power that you
Yeah,
lost to your parents, make sure you find out what that unexamined life is, that parental ego state I mentioned in the last one. That's the one you're dumping on your wife or your husband or your boyfriend or your boss or whatever. Okay. Getting into scraps that originated with your parents and where you have internalized your parents' behavior as your own and you're repeating it, even though you didn't like it. So get rid of that stuff and reclaim the real you,
yeah.
the what you want to do, the who you are.
It's fascinating. And just in conclusion, maybe, I mean, we're kind of touching on it, but it seems like because all of this is so subconscious, are there techniques that we can use to tap into our subconscious, because it's so difficult to see these patterns in ourselves when it's all way back there? How do you start the healing process on that subconscious level when it's so
Okay.
difficult?
Well, that's a good question because the subconscious is the storehouse for forbidden feelings and drives.
Hmm.
Remember, shame is a very forbidden feeling, especially if you feel flawed and defective. You know it's there, but it's at the subconscious. We've got to take the unconscious and the subconscious material and make it fully conscious. That the only way out is through. So
Right.
when you talk about techniques for how do I heal, you've got to be willing to stare it in the face. You've
Yeah.
got to be willing to welcome it back to the table. In other words, you want to be able to say, well, I got to have a parts party. I got to have the shame-based self. I got to have the infancy self, the toddler self, the preschool. Call them
Right.
all to the table.
Right. Not be
You
afraid
know,
to feel those feelings. You're going to feel ashamed about some of your past actions.
summons
It's
them,
okay. Yeah.
summons them, summons them. Yes, okay. We've heard it. Yep, you're not thrilled about doing this work, but I'm telling you, it's humbling. And once you're done it, it can never happen to you the same way twice.
Excellent. Very good. All right. Well, thank you so much, George. You want to let people know
Thank you.
about your work with the line real quick and where they can find out
Absolutely.
more?
Yep, we've got a lot going on. If you want to email me, media@thelineinternational.com. Get us on at The Line Media Twitter, at The Line Canada on Twitter, The Line Canada on Facebook, same with Instagram, and Telegram. We're all over the place. The Line Canada and The Line International. Yeah,
Cool.
check us out.
It seems like Telegram is kind of on fire these days. It's a good place to go, censorship free, to have the conversations that you
I
want to have.
yeah, I keep hearing that.
Yeah, I've
That's
gotten
great.
myself on Telegram as well, which you can find at the Shift with Doug McKenty. I, of course, have been your host of this the 12th episode of the Psychology of Lockdown series. You can find me on Facebook. My personal page is kind of blowing up, so just check that out, Doug McKenty. I also have a Facebook page, The Shift with Doug McKenty. I'm on YouTube at The Shift, on Twitter at D McKenty. But I try to get as many people as possible to go to the website. That way we have control over the conversation, and we don't have to go through these big tech third-party platforms. So please check me out at www.theshiftnow.com. Sign up for the newsletter, and you'll get weekly updates about everything that I produce. So thank you so much, George. Another great episode, and we'll be back again
Thanks,
next
Doug.
week with number 13. Do you have the topic handy for next week?
It's going to be negative and positive hallucinations.
Ooh, sounds like
That,
another good one.
that's a cool one. Yeah.
Right on.
I enjoyed that one. Yeah. We're going to do that one next week. It's a spinoff right from out of codependency. When you don't heal that, this stuff comes forward.
Uh-oh.
Positive and negative hallucinations.
All right. Awesome, George. Thanks again. And we'll
Thank you very
talk to
much, Doug.
you and talk to everybody in the audience again next week. Thanks for listening. Take
Thanks.
care.
All the best. Bye, folks. Thanks.